Time to wake up. It's Saturday morning. Find some milk and cereal. Grab a bowl and spoon. No, a bigger spoon. Head to the living room and take a seat on the floor while Joseph and Chris present to you Saturday Morning Cartoon!
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Saturday Morning Cartoon Boom. This is a show where we wake up with a Saturday morning sun, plop down in the living room floor with a big bowl of sugary cereal, and watch all your favorite cartoons, both old and new. I'm Joseph.
I'm Chris.
And with us today, we have the director of the upcoming documentary, What's a Podcast, head of the That Man on Fatman franchise, fellow podcaster and personal friend, Mr. Scott Holden.
Hey, how are you?
Hello.
Good,
wow,
good.
Thanks for having me on. Wow, I'm ahead of a franchise. Wow,
Yeah,
I never thought of
you're
it that way.
You're a lot of things.
Yeah.
Also, Joseph, I'm impressed with how quick you said all of that. Like, I've never seen your mouth move so fast ever. Oh
Yeah,
my
that
God.
was quite a tumble.
Hey, I'm getting used to it. Used to it. Scott is with us today because he chose what we watched this morning, which was Batman, the Brave and the Bold, developed by James Tucker and Michael Jelenic, produced by Warner Brothers Animation and DC Entertainment, ran for 3 seasons, 65 episodes on the Cartoon Network. For a short synopsis, an updated animated series centering on the Caped Crusader himself as he partners and deals with his fellow superheroes in the DC Comics universe.
Very accurate.
Very true.
Yes.
Batman animation is a thing for me. I since Batman, the animated series on Fox came on, and so I've followed them. But when we were talking about your show and I was thinking about it, I'm like, The Brave and the Bold is a much better fit for a show called Saturday Morning Cartoon Boom. Because, I mean, my experience with it, I loved it. I'm a 40-something-year-old man, and I can watch episodes of that show with like a 10-year-old and be just as entertained.
Yeah, like it's not a kid show, it's a family show. Like it's for everybody.
Oh, absolutely. Especially because there's so many like nods to other things like in the Batman universe, whether it's the comics or movies or the TV shows and stuff. There's just so much there that whatever age you are, you can take something from it or be like, oh yeah, I like how they did this. That's perfect.
And they totally strive for deep cuts, like deep cut bad guys, deep cut heroes. And they never agonize too much about like why Batman is there, or you know what I mean? Like it has that James Bond cold, opening from a previous mission.
Yeah, which is a very cool intro. I like how typically those very short, like 2-minute intros or whatever they aren't really tied to the episode as a whole.
Yeah, no,
It's just a small like mini comic almost.
Yeah. Especially it gives them a chance to like just throw in like a random other hero or villain whenever they want. Because if they're like, okay, we don't have a whole episode about, revolving around this other character, they can just throw them in for 2 minutes.
Yeah, they don't have a whole episode revolving around Abe Lincoln and John Wilkes Booth.
John Wilkes Boom.
That was hilarious.
Fantastic.
Oh, we were cracking up when we watched that.
Oh, good. I'm glad you liked it because I wasn't sure. Like, okay, we were just talking right before we started recording. I wasn't sure. I was getting the vibe that, he didn't like it. He thought it was stupid.
I'll just, spoiler alert, I loved it.
Okay, great.
Absolutely.
That makes it a lot easier now because now I can tell you how much I love it.
Oh, yeah, please.
Yeah. I mean, that's why when picking episodes, I know that you guys usually pick a certain amount, like around 3 or something. And I was like, so it was narrowing it down, but I wanted to give you a smattering of what the whole show was like. So I love that Aquaman episode. First off.
That was fantastic.
Because that's to me, that is the best total portrayal of Aquaman ever. The verbose, over the top, silly, but not even realizing that he is sort of a cardboard cutout.
Right, exactly.
Outrageous.
Yeah, exactly. My own, and they break the third wall every once in a while.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's why I was like, that's got to be in there. Also, the Chill of the Night episode had to be in there.
So good.
Those are kind of polar opposite episodes of each other because while Aquaman's Outrageous Adventure shows you the fun side of the show and the just really laid back, kind of doesn't take itself seriously part, The Chill of the Night is exactly the opposite. That gives you a lot more depth. That almost harkens back to the Batman animated series that we watched as kids ourselves.
Now, did you pick up on all the stunt casting in that?
Yes, we did.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
It's so brilliant. Yeah, first of all, Paul Dini wrote it, which makes sense. So it's a nod back to, the original Batman animated series.
You can tell too, like just the writing, the storytelling, like how everything unfolded. Like it definitely felt like a Paul Dini episode,
right? And then you had Kevin Conroy as Phantom Stranger, Mark Hamill as
in a bet. Like that. What a great premise for that. To me, I get all gooey too when I hear it. And I was watching it again with Gene to kind of like, I'm going to go on the cartoon show. I want to check out these episodes. I was getting all geeky. Yeah, I was getting the chills when Mark Hamill's there. I'm like, can you tell whose voice that is? Can you tell? And she's like, I can't figure it out. I'm like, it's Mark Hamill.
Yeah, we didn't catch it at first. We caught Kevin Conroy.
Yeah.
Rest of them, even Julie Newmar as Martha Wayne.
Yes, and of course Bruce.
Yeah,
right. And then I kind of noticed it when you hear the mob boss who hired Joe Chill. It's the voice of Two-Face, Richard Mole from the series.
I was wondering about that because that sounded really familiar.
Yeah, like I heard it because of his like graspy kind of gravelly voice.
You know what's funny is when we first heard him, I was thinking, oh man, they should have saved that guy to voice Two-Face because he sounds like he would be perfect. And that's why it clicked because that was the voice of Two-Face. Exactly. I'm like, oh, that makes a lot of sense now.
Yeah. Chill of the Night's an amazing episode. And then I think the last one is the last episode, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and that was written by Paul Dini as well.
And also amazing.
Mitefall, of course, paying respect to Nightfall, the Batman story.
Yeah. Now, there's another Batmite episode I really wanted to throw in, but then I'm loading them down with like 5 different shows. And it was like, ooh, you can't give them those 2 episodes and the last show and not say, well, you really got to watch the first show too, because you want to set the table.
Yeah.
For Batmite. Yeah.
Yeah. And for, just the pace of the show and the feel.
Even though it was only these, 4 episodes that we watched, I still want to go back and watch the rest of them. This is not all shows do that for me where I'm like, that's enough. But this one, you can't get enough of it as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, there are some of the fucking heroes that, can I swear in this? You can always edit it out. But some of the heroes that they use in this are really obscure, like freaking... Oh, who is it? Like that Uncle Sam gang? I can't remember their name right now, but they're all like patriotic characters and stuff.
Nice.
Yeah, like they go deep.
Yeah, didn't they have the
metal men or something like that? The 5 different people, different metal, like metallic people.
Yeah. And they had the what is the quilt's name?
Crazy Quilt?
Crazy Quilt.
Yeah. Appearance in one episode.
I mean, I saw that they had the Flash and his whole crew in there too, which is awesome. I mean, it just looking over the episode titles excited me just because of how many. It's like, oh man, this person's in this person's in this. So it's like it's a Batman series, but it's more about he's kind of a side character to all the guests he's having.
Yeah, it's a Batman title, but really this is a show for like the entire DC universe. Like, I mean, all of it, which is amazing. It's like me and Joseph were talking earlier. It felt like someone took a look at the Super Friends and they're like, okay, how can we make this more awesome? So then they just took as many characters as they can and just made some like great writing and gave everybody a moment. And they did such a great job with this.
It's funny too, because I think Brave and the Bold sort of got missed. Because it looks so kid-like, it's that Bob Kane kind of Batman at first glance. I mean, even Kevin Smith, my big hero, even he gave it a pass. He didn't realize, and then after it had gone off, he got enough emails from people saying you really should check it out. That when he started watching it, he was like, "I love this show. How did I miss it? Why didn't we have more of this?" Because it's so deep cuts and so much fun.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. Like, the original airing of this completely passed me by, went under my radar, and then I maybe caught an episode or part of an episode, coming up to this point, but I was like, oh, this looks kind of cool. I'll catch the rest, and I just never did. Yeah. I'm kind of sad I didn't now, because just watching these, especially the the epitome of the series episodes that you picked for us. Like, these were so amazing. I can't wait to watch the other ones.
Yeah, and the other ones they're so fun, and there's some weird ones, and there's some like, oh god, I can't think of the name of the hero, and maybe he was in some of the episodes I gave you. He like takes the animals and mixes them together. But I think he's from Animal Man, the Animal Man from Grant Morrison's reboot.
Yeah.
And that was his power. So he just takes animals and sticks them together.
Oh, weird. Yeah.
And
I don't think he was in the ones we watched.
Okay. Yeah. Well, he's in them, but total spoiler. I believe it's in the third season. They kill him off.
Oh, man.
Wow.
Yeah, I was like, wow, that was really... But they actually do it in a way that, it's pathos, and like Batman reflects on his death and that kind of shit. It's like pretty heavy stuff in a fun-paced comic.
Yeah, exactly. Like it has so many tones to it that you don't really know what to expect coming into any episodes. Like they're not all strikingly different, but they all have just a different kind of flow to them.
Yeah, it's like Batman could show up in space. Like, hey, I got my helmet on and we're going to another, with Green Lantern to another galaxy.
And he totally does. Like the first episode, him and Blue Beetle.
That's right.
That's true.
Another dimension on another planet.
It's
crazy.
With the Gibble people.
Yeah,
I love those things.
That's right.
Found the power within. That was an episode where, like you said, it wasn't as great as the others, but it was still really good. And I love how it ended with Batman kind of giving that little internal monologue of like he came to see if he had potential as a hero, but then he got to see him become one, and that kind of gave me chills hearing that.
And Paul Rubens as Batmite.
Oh yeah,
that was great.
Noticed that right away.
Yeah, and the great use of Batmite, because when you think about Batmite, how he fits into our universe, into the universe of comics now, he's so goofy and weird, but they figured out just how to make him work. He's like a fanboy from another dimension.
Yeah. I think the strong point to the show is that they were very self-aware of what this show is, so they knew exactly how to use characters like that. I mean, the characters that would, outside of this would be thought of as really goofy, and people might think that they're poor characters, but this show, knowing what it was going to be, we're able to take those and turn them into something fun, something that made sense to this universe. So like Batmite definitely being that case, making him a fanboy, knowing that he's in a TV show, watching a TV show, and all that stuff.
Even same with Ambush Bug. I mean,
yes, Ambush Bug. As Henry Winkler as Ambush Bug.
Winkler.
Yes.
The Fonz. That was brilliant. Love it. And I'm glad you guys loved it too. I was worried that you're going to be like, this is dumb.
I didn't have any issues with this show at all. From the moment we turned it on, it was just fantastic, and that lasted throughout. There wasn't a moment where I was like, I'm kind of bored. It was just like, oh my gosh, this is awesome.
Yeah, and I think we were laughing through like almost every episode, aside from the serious one.
Especially the Aquaman one, man.
Yeah,
oh
my gosh, we were laughing the whole time.
Just throwing it at you. Like, he's such a good character, and then John DiMaggio is his voice.
Yes.
Chris was kind of saying that I think he did a really good job in... he still had kind of a Kevin Conroy feel to him, but it wasn't trying to be Kevin Conroy.
Yeah, it's just like his voice naturally sounds similar to Kevin Conroy's Batman. So it was kind of like a perfect transition into somebody else taking on the role, because you still kind of have that hint of, okay, there's some similar characteristics of what we're used to, but this is a new Batman for another generation. So it was great casting for that.
He enjoyed doing it too. He talked about he's on some Fatman on Batman shows. I think 2 episodes.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, and he talks about it, and he reflects on some of its work he's very proud of, being Batman. And I love the fact that he's also in Jay and Silent Bob's Strike Back.
Oh, nice. Jeez, there's so much to talk about with this show. Like, where do we want to go?
Why don't you tell the listeners the 4 episodes that we did watch?
Yeah, we just waxed out about all of them.
First one we watched was the very first episode, which was Rise of the Blue Beetle, Season 1, Episode 1.
Yeah, I like that this first episode wasn't like an origin story thing of, that it wasn't like a Batman, like, here's how he came to be who he is. Because we've seen it so many times. I like that it just jumped in and, like, everything was already established.
Yeah, agreed. It's like everybody knows who Batman is. Let's just have some fun with it.
Exactly.
Even the name, Brave and the Bold, harkens back to those old team-up comics.
And then the second one we watched was Aquaman's Outrageous Adventure, season 2, episode 4, which was outrageous.
It was so good.
It's Aquaman going on vacation with his family, but urging
Like
still
in a Winnebago,
So good.
They're still fighting off the urge to fight crime because it's in his blood. It's what he does.
Yes.
I just love the idea of Aquaman as like, a dad on vacation who's just really annoyed with the vacation.
I love how much power Mira had over him, where he's like, "Yes, my pearl."
Yeah. I love Mira.
But he was always breaking the rules, man.
Yeah.
She's one of my favorite DC characters. So it was really funny to see her as like a, like the wife mother role where, it's almost like they just took like a typical family going on a vacation and made them, Aquaman, Mira, and the kid and
Aquatine, Aqualad.
It's so good. It was so funny. It worked so well.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
And then I love, and they're just like small things like, he goes and helps others in their fights, like Blue Beetle, and he keeps calling Batman to try to come help him. He's like, "No, have fun on your vacation. Stop calling.
Leave me alone."
Yeah.
Part of the reason I love that is like I sort of rediscover. I used to be an Aquaman hater. I used to make fun of him, and then it was back in the BCJ days when. Joey kind of took me to task. He's like, I bet you don't even realize, you don't even know Aquaman.
The potential.
Yeah. And then so like he kind of hit me to a couple books and then you go, so here's a superhero who's as powerful as Superman, except for instead of being able to fly, he's water is his thing, so he can swim and all. But, he has the same strength as he has super strength. He can lift ships. He can do all that same crap. And on top of that, he can command sea life. Now, it sounds stupid when you say talk to fish, but when you say command sea life, it's a little different. So he can command a shark to eat you, but yet people like shit on him. Hey, water dude, come on over here and, get me a drink, that kind of crap. So you have this Aquaman character who's constantly... So to see this version, and he's a family man on top of that. I love that, being a family man. So, cool. Jeff Johns did a very interesting dichotomy when they rebooted it for the...
Yes, I was just about to mention the New 52.
I love that. That turned me back onto Aquaman, too.
The intro to his character in that series, in the Justice League series, is great, under Jeff Johns, where he's kind of being crapped on by, I think...
Everybody.
I don't remember who.
It was just the general public.
Even the heroes are just like, oh, what can he do? And then one of these, what are the guys called? The parademons. One of the parademons flies over the water, and he just sends like 2 vicious-looking great white sharks up and just like bites him out of the air and just eats him. And they're like, okay, I see. Now,
exactly.
Now we respect this guy.
Yeah,
and I was like, that is such an amazing scene, and that kind of redeems Aquaman, and not redeems him, but it gives him more validity if people would just like look at him and all the abilities that he does have.
Yeah. It's true. I mean, essentially, he's Superman in the water.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you got any respect for Superman, an invulnerable dude.
In this series, though, they kind of play on his silliness a little bit.
And I love that. I love the that really endears you to him. Mm-hmm. They should add that more to the comic book character. I think that would give him a little more zest with people.
He's almost just like out of it all the time. Like he's not even like on the same channel as other people. He's just so over the top.
Yeah, he's kind of hilarious. And he kind of talks like Thor in some respects. In that hello, old chum, old friend. He's putting on like a lot of verbosity.
I was gonna say it's kind of like how Marvel is treating Hercules right now. Like he's
in the comics.
Yeah, he's written very similar in that way.
As an Aquaman fan, I like that portrayal.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely pays respects to him without taking it too seriously. So great stuff.
Was there the fish guy in that too? The starfish, Starro? Was Starro in that?
No, Starro wasn't in this one.
Oh, I thought I remember Starro in one of these.
He is in one of the episodes, though, but not this one.
And he has like a comic beat, if I recall.
I've not seen him in the episodes. I just know he's in one of the other episodes.
When Starro shows up, I'm pretty sure there's a comic beat to him at some point, which is
nice.
like brilliant.
That would be so funny. Yeah, like I said, I have to watch the rest of these episodes. I remember when Sportsmaster drives by in his car and he's like he's getting excited. He's like, yes, I'm about to get to battle. And then he's on vacation with his family too.
Right. And his kid's like all like sullen and like brooding.
Yeah.
And then he's just like, oh,
so good.
That was a great scene.
You know,
these are all great scenes.
Did you guys ever see, what was it? Darwin Cook's, they adapted The Final Frontier.
Yes.
It's sort of
I did see
this had that kind of flavor to it.
The New Frontier, yeah.
Yeah, the New Frontier. The New Frontier, yes. It felt like that in some ways, in that, all the heroes, like you had purple-dressed Catwoman. And, just that more... Those weird picks. When you had a hero, they went for the more interesting design.
Yeah, they went back to like the 40s, 50s, 60s original designs. Like with Two-Face specifically, that's one I immediately noticed with his half orange, half purple suit. Yeah, that was awesome. That's when I knew that this show was like paying so much respect to the Silver Age.
Well, that's why I love the Penguin too, like how they designed him in this show. It looks just like
He was almost like Burgess Meredith Penguin.
Yeah, exactly.
And probably the original comic ones too.
Yeah,
a lot of Shazam / Captain Marvel shows up in the show, and Plastic Man.
Episode title. The third one that we watched was Chill of the Night. That one was the one we were talking about earlier. That was a really serious episode.
Yeah, it was kind of a big departure from the rest of it, because it didn't have like the comedy kind of feel to it. It was very much in the style of like Batman the Animated Series. But man, it was done so well.
It won them an Emmy.
Oh, I believe it, because
deserved.
Deserved. Yeah, this was like classic Paul Dini at his best. Writing. It really was. It was perfect.
And it's an origin story without beating you over the head with an origin story.
It was more of an origin story for Joe Chill, I think, than Batman in that, because they were really focused on, okay, who is this guy? And that was the whole thing, was Batman trying to figure out who this guy was. And then, like we said earlier, the whole game between the Spectre and Phantom Stranger, like the bet that they have going on about if Batman's going to cross the line or not. Man, it was so good.
Yeah, between justice and vengeance. And that's just such a cool, that's a line that he's always kind of facing. And this is him at his biggest challenge, because this is the reason he's Batman in the first place.
Right.
And we get to see that too.
I like that confrontation at the end where so Joe was trying to sell weapons to a bunch of the other rogues gallery, like Joker and
Two-Face, Penguins. Yeah, everybody.
They're all there. And so once Batman confronts him and he reveals who he is, he says he's Bruce Wayne, because he wants this guy to know, that he created him, basically. What he did made, Batman who he is, and he's the whole reason that, villains are running scared in the streets and stuff. So when Chill gets out and he sees the rogues gallery again, and he's just kind of like, oh my God, like I killed this guy's parents like years ago, and he's Batman. And the Joker's like laughing him off, and everybody's just like, oh, come on. You expect us to believe that you basically created the Batman? And they just start like beating him up and stuff.
Yeah, they're essentially
great.
It's like the vibe of like, oh, you created our biggest enemy. Let's get him.
Exactly. So you expect us to help you, but really, since you're the reason for all of this, we're against you.
And to me, that's like classic Paul Dini, because he paints himself into a situation where you think to yourself, okay, Batman just took off his mask to the bad guy. To Joe Chill, how's he going to get? How's this going to happen? How are we going to get out of this one? So
how are you going to recover from this?
Yeah, and then so the answer is that the bad guys, being bad, do the job that Batman can't.
Karma gets him. Well,
it's a little bit of everything.
Yeah, exactly.
But I love how they leave it open ended at the end, where Phantom Stranger and Spectre are having that conversation, and he's kind of like, it's kind of convenient that he was there when the roof
under the roof when it crumbled.
In. So it makes you like they kind of hint that Spectre had something to do with that, but he just kind of shrugs it off.
Yeah, he's
Tip
like,
the scales just a tad.
Exactly.
That was cool.
So
Yeah,
that
cool.
was very cool.
Quite cool.
When he teamed up with Thomas Wayne, his father, to take out
that was cool.
Take out the mob that were trying to rob that charity.
Yeah, he got to go back in time.
Oh yeah.
And help his dad. And it was funny because they were at a costume party, and so they get introduced to each other. Him and his dad are dressed similarly.
Yep.
And then Thomas is introducing him to Martha, and he just like hugs Martha for like a really long time, and she's like getting uncomfortable, like
Yeah. And since Adam West was playing his dad, he kept calling him old chum, so it was very reminiscent of Batman 66.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah. And so the last episode we watched that we touched on also some was it was Mitefall, or season 4, episode 65, which was the very last episode of the series. So it's like they closed out, in my opinion, the best way they could have possibly closed it out.
So much so.
By Batmite trying to get the show canceled. And I just thought that was hilarious. It was so meta.
I tear up at that stupid party at the end. I can't tell you how many times I've watched that episode.
They make it so sentimental and just nostalgic and everything. I mean, you're seeing like all of the characters in one place, saying their goodbyes and, just celebrating what they had and stuff like that. And it makes that transition from this is a show where we're led to believe that this is the world, and then it becomes in that episode that this was a cast of a TV show, and they're saying goodbye to each other.
Oh, how they're like moving all the.
And they're moving,
scenery.
Yes, that was so smart.
That was genius.
I'm tearing up just thinking about it right now.
Oh man, it's just powerful.
It's another just Paul Dini masterpiece.
He is brilliant. He's a brilliant writer.
Yes, he is.
And the idea was also genius that Batmite, in doing this, erased himself.
Yes.
Because in wanting a more serious Batman cartoon, that doesn't include him in that either. And that's not something he thought about. And I thought that was genius, watching him just be erased from the TV show history, basically.
Yeah, and as we talked before, the unique pull of Ambush Bug as the hero who's like trying to save this universe.
Yeah.
And who also ultimately points out that, destroy the show, destroy yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No place for you in a dark, gritty universe.
I like how Batmite, as he starts disappearing, he's like, oh no, and then he just kind of is like, oh well, he just kind of accepts it and just disappears.
Doesn't have much time, does he?
Yeah.
There's another Batmite episode that is very good. There's a couple, but like the first Batmite episode where they introduce him is also very good and also very meta.
And Paul Ruman still plays him in that one too?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah,
Awesome.
that's the reprise he's reprising his role.
One of my favorite parts of the Batmite episode, this one, was the neon talking Super Street Bat Luge.
Oh, that was amazing.
Yes, the Bat Luge. Yeah. I love that. I'm going to add stuff that, from the toy line that would never be in the comic books.
Yeah, like the Ice Climber Batman.
That was great.
Come on. Yeah, that is hilarious.
Basically turning him into the action figures and stuff.
Yes.
It was funny because the very last one that he turned into was one that I had. Like, I was like, oh my gosh, I had one just like this when I was a kid.
I had this toy.
Which one?
It was the one like towards the end where he had like the armor, and it was kind of like there was some purple to it, and
the one where he was shooting the guns. But I don't think the toy came with the gun.
No,
I could have
I just had
sworn
an action figure that had like that kind of armor and stuff, and I was like, this is amazing.
Yeah,
I could have sworn we got like our little nephews a Fireman Batman variant that I thought I saw in there, but I
would not doubt it. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Oh, and when they brought in the kind of Ace. What is it? Ace Hound Bat?
Oh, yeah. Scrappy Doo, or essentially the Scrappy Doo of the show.
Yeah, Punchichi. Yeah. Punchichi. And then instead of the puppy power, he says power to the puppies. I was like, this is genius. I love this.
So fun.
Done. It's over. And then they cut away to like a father and son watching the show. And they're like, this isn't very good.
They keep like debating, should we turn it off? Let's turn it off. And they're like, no, wait. Senseless violence always keeps fathers and sons watching TV.
Right. Yes. Oh, yeah, because they start getting Batman to punch him.
Yeah, he starts getting Batman to beat him up, Ambush Bug.
Yeah.
So all around, just so good.
Yes. A great show. A great show. Worthy of cartoon boom for sure.
Absolutely.
Oh, definitely. Especially since it had John Wilkes Boom. So.
Oh, yes. John Wilkes Boom. He was like the highlight.
Which is that another one of those like, okay, how are they going to get out of this one? Because we all know Lincoln lived.
Right. And then it's like at the very end before it switches to the intro, he's like, and now I've saved like dimension whatever. Or,
thank you, President of Earth 604 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yep.
So Chris and Scott, let's go ahead and cram our inner kids into the neon talking Super Street Bat Luge to make sure they're prepped for adventure and see what they thought of Batman Brave and the Bold.
I thought this was going to be a lame Batman, but he was really cool, and the show was really funny, and he's still beating up all the bad guys like boom, pow, crack. And Aquaman is so funny, and he's always saying things like
outrageous!
And it made me laugh so much, so I gave this cartoon 5 bowls of bold flavored cereal out of 5, and now I have to go to Toys R Us and buy all the action figures. Bye!
Batman the Brave and the Bold is a fantastic love letter to Silver Age comics of not just Batman, but nearly the entirety of the DC universe. The amount of fangirling I go into, even so much as reading the titles of these episodes, is overwhelming. Truthfully, I can't really even encapsulate the amount of joy this show brings me into a short review, but suffice it to say, it's truly bat-tastic. I'd give this show 5 big bowls of Clock King Caper cereal out of 5 and highly recommend it. And is it wrong that I kind of want to see a series completely dedicated to Batmite, forcing other shows to quadruple backflip over sharks?
I love Batman the Brave and the Bold. I can even watch it with my dad and he laughs his butt off. I will give this 5 out of 5 big, brave, and the bold Batman cereal crunchies.
Man, that would be an awesome show to watch, actually. The Misadventures of Batmite or Batmite, the Cowardly and the Timid.
I'd watch it. The Cowardly and Timid. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that sounds good.
That should be the next iteration.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
So, Scott, I mean, it's always great to have you on. You've been on some of our other shows before, but today you specifically have something important to plug. Please do so.
Well, I appreciate you having me on. For those who don't know, I host another show called Batman on Fatman. It's a fanzine podcast dedicated to Kevin Smith. Through the course of that show, I managed to hook up with some guys from Scotland who are making a movie called Shooting Clerks. It's a biodrama about the making of Clerks. And I've been supporting them and helping them out and promoting the show. And through the course of events, I ended up being in the movie. I got to play Howard Stern. And
nice.
Yeah, it was amazing. It's a great experience. The whole thing has been really cool. It just debuted at Orlando Film Festival. It won the Indie Spirit Award there.
Cool. Wow.
Yeah, it's getting very good reviews. We had Bob Hawke on. We recorded with him yesterday, and he gave it, like, since he was just on the show, he just talked his review out and gave it a very warm review. It was unexpected in his tone. And I think that was part of his review was like, he was like, I expected something else and I got something very, what did he kept going back to? Heartful or soulful or like, a loving homage, more than, like set up punchline snoochie boochies crap, like that was great to hear. So to me, that means it'll have legs. But anyway, it's doing its New York and New Jersey premiere on November the 10th and 11th. So in the 10th, it's in New York City, and on the 11th, it's in New Jersey. The best way to find out, and to get tickets is to go to facebook.com/Shooting Clerks. And you can always visit my website at batmanonfatman.com.
When this is released, it will be the weekend it'll be the weekend before the debut in New York, right?
Yeah.
Oh, and one other thing. So if you're in the area and now you're all worked up and you're going to one of these shows and you're all clerks, then on the Saturday following in New York City, there's a screening of Film Hawk, the documentary about Bob Hawke.
Oh, nice.
Cool.
And that's its New York City premiere.
And just as a personal recommendation, if you are a fan of Kevin Smith at all and you listen to his podcast, listen to That Man on Fatman too, because Scott is truly the biggest fan that I know of Kevin Smith, and he will give you the best of the best.
Well, I'm just a fan. I love giving it back to Kevin and the universe. So I'm not fan, that's for sure. I don't claim that. I don't want to claim that. That just sets myself up for people to hate me.
Well, all right. Well, this has been so fun having you on, Scott. I always appreciate it, and it's always a blast. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for letting me promote that, and this has been a lot of fun.
Well, listeners, it looks like our milk supply has now run dry, so it's time for us to say goodbye. And next week, we'll be watching
The Tick, submitted by 2 listeners, Kelsey over a few beers, and Mark via email. And real quick, just a couple quick announcements. Big thank you to MF Madvillain on iTunes, who left us a 5-star review. He says, magically delicious, tremendous podcast. It snaps, crackles, and pops. Thank you so much for the awesome review.
I like
because
that.
It was really funny.
And once again, I'm Joseph.
I'm Chris.
And I'm Scott.
And we'll see you next Saturday.
Presented by Nerdsloth,
a place for lazy nerds.
If you like what you heard, consider donating at patreon.com/nerdsloth so we can continue bringing you quality shows. Be sure to also leave us a review and share your favorite episodes and clips on social media. If you're looking for more content, visit us at nerdsloth.com.